Ambassador Patricia Reeves had exactly 3 thoughts as she entered the Vralkesh diplomatic chamber. 1. The temperature controls were set way too high. 2. The lighting was extremely dramatic for a business meeting. 3. That was a really tall alien doing some kind of aggressive stretching routine. "Are you okay?" she asked, watching Karshan, supreme alpha of the Vralkesh hegemony, arch his 12-foot frame backward while his spinal ridge extended like a biological switchblade. "Did you pull something?" The entire Vralkesh delegation went perfectly still. Karshan's translator crackled with what sounded like confused static before settling on, "This is the submission demand." "Oh, is that what we're calling it?" Reeves set down her briefcase. "Look, I'm not a doctor, but that posture is terrible for your lower back. Have you tried yoga? Actual yoga, I mean, not whatever this is." Karshan's scales shifted from dominance red to confused purple. No species had ever failed to recognize the submission demand. It was biological law, universal, coded into the instincts of every sentient being in the galaxy. Apparently, no one had mentioned that to humans. "The submission demand," Karshan's second-in-command explained slowly, as if talking to a particularly dim child, "establishes hierarchy. The alpha displays dominance. Lesser beings submit." Right. Reeves nodded, pulling out her tablet. "But we're here to discuss the trade agreement, not exercise routines. Although," she glanced at Karshan's still extended spine ridge, "you might want to ice that later. Inflammation can be a real problem." Karshan tried again. This time, he went full display, spine ridge fully extended, claws out, jaw unhinged to show rows of teeth designed for tearing through starship hull plating. A sound that was part roar, part ultrasonic frequency weapon. Every Vralkesh in the room responded instinctively, lowering their heads in submission to their alpha. Reeves blinked. Okay, that was definitely louder than necessary for an indoor space. She reached into her bag. "I have a heating pad in here somewhere, and some Advil if you need it." The second-in-command's translator emitted a sound like a computer having an existential crisis. Dr. Yuki Sato received the emergency transmission while examining a sample of Andromedan fungus that might hold the key to faster-than-light communication, or might just be regular mushrooms. Hard to tell. "You need to get to the Vralkesh diplomatic station," her supervisor said, sounding like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. "Ambassador Reeves there's been an incident." "What kind of incident?" "The kind where she accidentally challenged the galaxy's apex predator species to ritual combat for pack leadership." Sato nearly dropped her mushrooms. "She what?" "Just get there. You're the only xenobiologist who's actually read the Vralkesh cultural files." 30 minutes later, Sato burst into the diplomatic chamber to find a scene that would haunt her professional nightmares forever. The entire Vralkesh delegation stood in what her training immediately recognized as battle stance, a pre-combat formation used only when the Alpha's authority was directly challenged. And in the center of the room, Ambassador Reeves sat in a chair, eating a sandwich. "Oh, good. You're here," Reeves said around a mouthful of turkey and Swiss. "Can you explain to them that the trade agreement has a 14-day review period? They seem really fixated on this dominance thing." "Ambassador," Sato said carefully, the way one might address someone standing on a ledge, "do you have any idea what you've done?" "I offered medical assistance." "You challenged their alpha to combat for pack leadership." Reeves stopped mid-chew. "I offered him Advil." "From their perspective," Sato explained, pulling up her cultural database, "refusing to submit to the submission demand is the ultimate challenge. It means you're claiming to be more dominant than their alpha, which means ritual combat to determine hierarchy. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard." Karshan's translator rendered his growl as, "It is tradition." Sato turned to the Vralkesh Alpha, switching to formal diplomatic mode. "Supreme Alpha Karshan, I apologize for the cultural misunderstanding. Humans are persistence predators. We don't have dominance displays. We just outlast things. It's our whole evolutionary strategy." Karshan's scales rippled with confusion. "All species have hierarchy displays, It is biological imperative. Not us. We're too stubborn to acknowledge we should quit. Sato pulled up a holographic chart. See? Our ancestors literally ran prey animals to death over days of pursuit. We don't dominate or submit. We just keep going until everything else gives up. This is not possible. And yet. Sato gestured at Reeves, who'd finished her sandwich and was now checking her email. The challenge has been issued, Karshan declared, his voice taking on a formal cadence. Honor demands completion of the ritual. I cannot submit without combat. The human cannot submit, apparently at all. We are at impasse. Great, Sato muttered. Just great. Reeves looked up from her tablet. I'm sorry. Are we still on this? Because I have a 3 o'clock with the Andromedan delegation, and they get really snippy about punctuality. Ambassador, you can't just... But Reeves was already standing, walking directly toward Karshan, the 12-foot apex predator who could tear her apart without breaking a sweat. Every Vralkesh in the room tensed. Sato's hand went to her emergency beacon. Reeves stopped directly in front of Karshan, looked up at him, made direct, unwavering eye contact. Look, she said, her tone the exact same one she'd use with a delayed subway train or a particularly slow elevator. I get that you have your whole dominance ritual thing. That's fine. Very culturally significant. I'm sure. But I have 17 meetings this week, a stack of treaty drafts that won't review themselves, and a very persistent migraine from the lighting in this room. She maintained eye contact. Didn't flinch. Didn't even blink. So can we please just sign the trade agreement already? Because I'm running out of Advil and patience in roughly equal measure. Sato watched in slow-motion horror as every single dominance indicator aligned. Direct eye contact, check. No fear response, check. Casual dismissal of threat, check. Maintaining position in Alpha's personal space, check. According to Vralkesh instinct, the biological programming written into their DNA over millions of years of evolution, there was only one possible response to such an overwhelming display of dominance. Karshan, Supreme Alpha of the Vralkesh hegemony, apex predator of the Galactic arm, undefeated in 300 ritual combats, lowered his head, in submission, to a human holding an empty sandwich wrapper. The silence in the diplomatic chamber was so complete that Sato could hear her own heartbeat. Finally, Reeves said, completely missing the historical significance of the moment. Now, about those tariff regulations. Karshan's translator emitted a sound like a whimper. Yes, Alpha. Sato pulled out her own tablet with shaking hands. She was absolutely going to need to document this. Also therapy. Probably lots of therapy. But mostly documentation. The footage hit Galactic social media approximately 6 minutes after Karshan's submission. By minute 12, it had spread across 17 star systems. By minute 20, the galaxy was having a collective meltdown. Dr. Sato watched the view counterclimb while simultaneously fielding emergency calls from xenobiologists who'd apparently forgotten how to form coherent sentences. It's not possible, one colleague from the Andromeda Institute kept repeating. Vralkesh don't submit. They don't. It's biological law. Biological law. Sato. On her secondary screen, military analysts were freeze-framing the moment of submission, measuring Reeves's posture, analyzing her eye contact patterns like it was advanced warfare. And on the Herbivore Coalition's public forum, someone had posted, "The prey species can dominate predators?" With approximately 3,000 exclamation points. The replies were even better. Does this mean we're not prey anymore? Are humans the apex predators now? I don't know what to do with my hooves. Sato scrolled to the Predator Alliance's response thread. It was just one word, repeated hundreds of times. How? 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 And then, buried in the chaos, the human reaction from the Earth forums. Wait, that was a big deal? We thought it was just an awkward business meeting. Ambassador Reeves is trending, and she doesn't even know what trending means. My aunt once made a CEO cry by asking if he needed to sit down. Is that also dominance? Sato put her head in her hands. This was going to be so much worse than she thought. The Galactic Council emergency session convened in record time. approximately 4 hours after the footage went viral, which was fast considering 3 council members had to be retrieved from panic rooms. Council member Zixoth, representing the Herbivore Coalition, spoke first. Their translation came through breathless with excitement. We must study this ability. If humans can teach us to dominate predators, the entire galactic power structure could shift. Absolutely not, Council Member Vrex growled. The massive predator representative looked like someone had just told him gravity was optional. We must ensure humans never learn to weaponize this capability. The implications for galactic security are... Weaponize what? The human delegate, a cheerful woman named Ambassador Park, who'd been chosen specifically because she seemed the least likely to accidentally start a war, looked genuinely confused. Being awkward at meetings? You dominated the Vralkesh Supreme Alpha, Vrex said, his translator barely containing his agitation. The most feared predator in 3 galactic sectors submitted to a human female holding garbage. It was a sandwich wrapper, Park corrected, and she didn't dominate anyone. She just wanted to sign some paperwork and go home. The council chamber erupted in overlapping translations of disbelief. Sato, attending as the official human behavioral expert, a title she'd acquired approximately 4 hours ago and already regretted, pulled up her presentation. If I may, she said, and the council reluctantly quieted. I've been studying this phenomenon. The issue is that humans are persistence predators. We evolved to be too stubborn to acknowledge we should quit. She pulled up a holographic chart showing human evolutionary history. Our ancestors didn't dominate prey through strength or speed. They just kept going. Ran animals to exhaustion over days, pursued them until the prey literally gave up and died. This is horror, someone whispered. This is Tuesday for humans, Sato corrected. We don't have biological programming for submission because our survival strategy was outlast everything else. We're not being dominant. We literally don't recognize when we're beaten. Vrex leaned forward. You're saying humans cannot perceive threat displays? Oh, we perceive them. We just process them differently. Sato pulled up footage of Karshan's submission demand. Ambassador Reeves saw an aggressive posture and thought medical emergency, because that's how human brains work. We see someone in distress, we offer help, even if that someone could tear us apart. That's insane, Zixoth breathed. That's humanity. Sato shrugged. We're the species that looks at apex predators and thinks, I bet I could pet that. Ambassador Park nodded enthusiastically. I tried to pet a Vralkesh honor guard yesterday. He made the cutest confused noise. The council chamber fell, silent. You tried to PET. Vrex couldn't finish the sentence. He looked fluffy, Park said defensively. Sato updated her presentation to include, do not pet the apex predators in large urgent letters. She had a feeling it wouldn't help. By the next morning, 12 different predator species had requested meetings with human ambassadors. They want to test whether humans can really dominate them, the diplomatic corps director explained, looking like he'd aged several years overnight. We're calling it the challenge wave. And you're assigning me to meet them all? Reeves stared at her schedule. I have budget reviews, performance evaluations, a dentist appointment. You're already good at this somehow, the director said. Just do whatever you did with Karshan. I offered him Advil. Then offer them Advil. I don't know, just don't start a war. The first challenger was a Krethnax warrior, 8 feet of armored muscle with retractable spikes, and a reputation for never backing down from a fight. He performed his species' dominance display, which involved spinning in a circle while extending all spikes simultaneously. Reeves watched politely. Is that a dance? Are we doing dances now? Because I should warn you, I'm terrible at the electric slide. The Krethnax froze mid-spin, lowered his spikes, submitted. Next was a Thalen Empress, who expressed dominance through complex pheromonal signals that were supposed to trigger fear responses in other species. Reeves sneezed. Sorry, allergies. Do you have the environmental controls set differently? I can barely smell anything with this sinus situation. The Empress, whose entire dominance display relied on scent, stared in disbelief, then lowered her crest in submission. A Vorthan Alpha tried aggressive sonic pulses. Reeves asked if he was trying to provide directions to the bathroom. He submitted. A Kelthari matriarch performed an elaborate threat display involving color-shifting scales that mesmerized prey into paralysis. Reeves complimented her mood ring aesthetic. Submission. By the 9th species, Sato was taking notes for what was either going to be the most important xenobiology paper ever written, or evidence for her inevitable war crimes trial. "How are you doing this?" she asked Reeves during a coffee break. "Doing what?" "I'm just being polite." "You're accidentally dominating every major predator species in the galaxy." "That seems like a them problem." The final challenger was a Zathari Prime, a massive crystalline predator whose species communicated entirely through resonance frequencies. They were walking, talking geological formations with a taste for conquest. The Zathari Prime entered the diplomatic chamber like an avalanche achieving sentience. Its dominance display was a subsonic roar that shattered 3 windows and made Sato's teeth hurt. Reeves waited for it to finish, pulled out a cough drop from her purse, held it out. "You might need this," she said. That sounded rough on the throat. Or whatever you have instead of a throat. Resonance chamber? Either way, menthol helps. The Zathari Prime's crystalline structure flickered through several colors that Sato's translator couldn't even process. Then it lowered its massive form to the ground, in submission, to a human offering throat lozenges. Sato updated her notes. Hypothesis: humans have accidentally become the galaxy's apex predators through sheer, unrelenting obliviousness to social cues and an overwhelming urge to provide basic medical care. Reeves checked her watch. "Is that everyone? Because I really do have that dentist appointment." 12 apex predator species, now submissive to human authority, rumbled their agreement. Sato realized she was going to need to completely rewrite the galactic hierarchy textbooks. Also possibly move to a different galaxy. This one was getting too weird. Ambassador Reeves discovered the first gift when she arrived at her office on Monday morning. A space deer corpse, on her desk, still bleeding. "What?" she started, then noticed Karshan standing in the corner, scales shifting to pleased yellow. "I hunted for you, Alpha," his translator announced with what sounded disturbingly like pride. "Finest kill of the season. Took 3 hours to track across the station's environmental sectors." Reeves stared at the dead animal, then at Karshan, then back at the dead animal. "This is a health code violation," she said finally. Karshan's scales flickered to confused purple. "You do not want my gift?" "I want my desk to not have a corpse on it." "But I hunted." "I don't care!" Reeves grabbed her comm. "Sato, my office. Now, bring, I don't know, whatever you use to clean up dead space deer." Dr. Sato arrived 12 minutes later with a xenobiology team, a hazmat crew, and the expression of someone who'd stopped being surprised by anything. "Pack-bonding behavior," she diagnosed immediately. "He's bringing you tribute kills to demonstrate his value to the pack and seek your approval." "Well, I don't approve. I have reports to file and now my office smells like a crime scene." Karshan made a sound like a whimper. "I have displeased the Alpha?" "Yes. No. Reeves pinched the bridge of her nose. "Just don't bring me dead things anymore, okay?" But the dead things were just the beginning. By Tuesday, the Thalan Empress had left a collection of rare crystalline formations outside Reeves's quarters. "Precious stones for the Alpha's nest," the accompanying note read. By Wednesday, the Krethnak's warrior was following 3 steps behind Reeves everywhere she went. Spine spikes extended toward anyone who got too close. By Thursday, the Zathari Prime had actually attacked a junior diplomat who'd raised his voice during a budget meeting, mistaking professional disagreement for a threat to their Alpha. And by Friday, the Galactic Council called another emergency session. "This is getting out of control," Council member Zixoth declared, displaying footage of apex predators forming protective perimeters around human ambassadors during diplomatic functions. "They're exhibiting full pack-bonding behaviors. We need to undo this," Vrex added. "Break the dominance bonds. Restore normal hierarchy." "You can't," Sato said, pulling up her research. Biologically impossible. Once a Vralkesh or any of these species accepts an alpha, the bond is permanent. It's instinct-level programming. You'd have to fundamentally rewire their brains. Then we'll do that. That's called lobotomy, and it's illegal in 43 systems. Ambassador Park raised her hand. What if we just ask them nicely to stop? 12 predator alphas, attending the session in support of their human alphas, rumbled negative responses. We serve our pack leaders, Karshan declared. This is the way of things. Reeves dropped her head onto the conference table. Congratulations, Sato. I accidentally adopted 12 apex predators. Technically, you adopted 12 species. The alphas are just representatives. That's worse. That's so much worse. The Human Solutions Committee, hastily formed, poorly organized, running on coffee and desperation, convened in a conference room that was definitely not designed to hold this many stressed xenobiologists. We need to re-establish normal hierarchy, Sato said, pacing. Make the predators see humans as not their alphas. How? Reeves asked. I've tried everything. I ignored them. I told them to go away. I hid in my quarters for 6 hours. They waited outside the door. A behavioral specialist named Dr. Kim pulled up a presentation. What if humans demonstrated submission behaviors? Showed weakness? Made ourselves less dominant? You want me to roll over and show my belly to a 12-foot murder lizard? Well, when you put it that way, because that's what you're suggesting, it might work. It didn't work. Reeves attempted to demonstrate submission to Karshan by avoiding eye contact, making herself smaller and speaking in a soft voice. Karshan's response: Alpha is unwell. I will summon medical assistance. She tried backing away when he approached. His response: Alpha requires more space. I will ensure the environmental controls are adjusted. She actually tried to physically bow to him. His response: Alpha practices strange human ritual. I will learn it to better serve the pack. And then he bowed back. Lower. Sato updated her notes. Submission attempts interpreted as medical emergency, environmental preference, and cultural exchange. Humans literally cannot signal weakness to species that have already accepted them as alpha. They just look concerningly helpful. This is a disaster, Reeves muttered. Then Dr. Kim had a terrible idea. Wait, she said slowly. They're pack-bonded predators who see you as alpha, right? Unfortunately, yes. So, be the alpha. Everyone stared. Establish boundaries. Set rules. Use a firm voice. It's literally what pack leaders do. Kim pulled up comparative studies of Earth pack animals. Wolves, dogs, even some primates. Alphas maintain order through clear communication and consistent expectations. You want me to train them, Reeves said flatly. You're already their alpha. Might as well actually do the job. Reeves looked at Karshan, who was hovering near the conference room door, scales anxious orange because he could sense her distress. She took a breath, stood up, walked directly to him. Karshan, she said, voice firm and clear. Sit. The supreme alpha of the Vralkesh hegemony, apex predator of 3 galactic sectors, undefeated in 300 ritual combats, sat immediately. Like he'd been waiting his entire life for someone to give him clear instructions. The conference room fell silent. Good, Reeves said, testing. Stay. Karshan stayed. Don't bring me dead things anymore. Yes, Alpha. And stop attacking diplomats who disagree with me. It's called debate, and it's normal. Understood, Alpha. Reeves turned back to the committee. I hate that this works. Sato was already taking notes. It works because they want structure, clear hierarchy, defined expectations. That's how pack species function. Humans just usually apply it to dogs, not galactic apex predators. So what do? Kim asked. We lean into it, Reeves said, sounding like someone accepting a terrible fate. If I'm going to be stuck as alpha to 12 predator species, I'm going to run this pack like any other difficult team. You mean corporate management strategies? It's literally designed for handling aggressive personalities in hierarchical structures. 3 weeks later, the galaxy watched in horrified fascination as humans implemented pack management protocols. Ambassador Reeves held weekly check-ins with her bonded predators. Karshan, your hunting efficiency is up, but we need to work on your communication skills. The Thalan Empress felt you were being aggressive during last week's trade negotiation. I was establishing dominance for the pack's benefit, Alpha. I appreciate the initiative, but let's use our words first. Clause second. Agreed? Agreed, Alpha. The Krethnax warrior attended goal-setting sessions. I want to improve my protective formations, he declared. Excellent. Let's set some SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. What? It's a human management technique, very effective for personal development. The Zathari Prime participated in conflict resolution workshops. When you feel angry at another species, take 3 deep resonance cycles and ask yourself, is this about them, or am I projecting my own insecurities? The crystalline predator's structure flickered with what might have been enlightenment. I had not considered this perspective. Ambassador Park ran team-building exercises. Okay, everyone. We're going to do trust falls. Karshan, you'll fall backward, and the Thalan Empress will catch you. This builds interpersonal pack bonds. This is ridiculous, Vrex observed from the council viewing gallery. This is working, Zixoth countered, watching the predators actually cooperate without territorial disputes. And it was working. The predators were thriving. They'd never had such clear pack structure, such defined roles, such consistent feedback and measurable objectives. You're treating apex predators like employees, a visiting diplomat observed, watching Reeves conduct a performance review with a Vorthan Alpha. They are employees now, Reeves corrected, signing off on the Alpha's quarterly goals. With dental benefits, retirement plans, and mandatory HR training on appropriate workplace conduct. This is insane. This is Tuesday. Karshan approached with what the translator rendered as eager anticipation. Alpha, I have completed my assigned reading on effective communication in multi-species environments. Excellent. Let's discuss your key takeaways in our next one-on-one. I have scheduled it in the shared calendar, Alpha. Sato watched from the corner, updating her paper. Humans have successfully restructured galactic apex predator social dynamics using corporate management techniques. The predators are happier, more productive, and significantly less likely to start wars. Humanity has conquered through middle management. She paused, then added, we should probably never tell them they've done this. Too late. Earth's corporate sector had already started recruiting. The non-bonded predators arrived like a storm made of teeth and barely contained rage. 15 species, each one an apex predator from their respective systems. Each one deeply, profoundly offended by the idea that their evolutionary cousins now took orders from soft-skinned bipeds who couldn't even grow proper claws. This is an abomination, declared Vrextor, Alpha of the Thanix Ravagers, the galaxy's most feared predators, the ones even other predators told scary stories about. He stood 14 feet tall, had scales like obsidian armor, claws that could shred starship hulls, a jaw that unhinged to reveal 3 rows of molecular edge teeth, and he was absolutely livid. You have betrayed your nature, he snarled at Karshan and the other bonded alphas, who'd gathered in what was supposed to be a neutral diplomatic chamber, but now felt uncomfortably like a gladiatorial arena. Taking orders from PREY? Attending their meetings? Following their protocols? Karshan's scales shifted to calm blue. They're not prey. They're pack leaders. They're food. They're alpha, the Krethnax warrior corrected. And they've implemented very effective conflict resolution strategies that have reduced interspecies tensions by 38%. Vrextor made a sound like a garbage disposal eating rocks. You're quoting statistics at me? It's from last quarter's report, the Zathari Prime added, helpfully. Very thorough analysis. Would you like a copy? The non-bonded predators stared in horror. We challenge you, Vrextor declared. Ritual combat. We will restore the natural order. We respectfully decline, Karshan said. We have a conflict resolution workshop scheduled for this afternoon. You what? It's mandatory for all pack members. Alpha says it builds communication skills. Vrextor's claws extended so fast they actually hummed. Then we challenge the humans directly. Let's see them dominate US. From the observation gallery, Sato's voice crackled over the comm. Reeves, maybe don't accept this one. These are the apex predators that make other apex predators nervous. Reeves, sitting in the diplomatic chamber reviewing quarterly projections, looked up. What's going on? Vrextor just challenged you to ritual combat. Can't. I have a 3 p.m. meeting. Reeves. But the ambassador was already standing, walking toward the arena floor with the same energy she brought to budget review sessions and cafeteria lunch rushes. The ritual combat arena was packed. Every species in the galaxy wanted to watch this. The prey species hoped humans would win. The predators, non-bonded ones anyway, wanted to see natural order restored. The bonded predators sat in a separate section with color-coded name tags from last week's team-building retreat. And the humans were taking bets on how long until someone needed medical attention. My money's on the Ravager sneezing, Ambassador Park whispered. Reeves has that effect. Vrextor entered the arena like a natural disaster achieving consciousness. His dominance display made Karshan's look like a light stretching routine. Full spine extension. Check. Threat vocalization that shattered 3 observation windows. Check. Claw deployment that carved grooves in the arena floor. Check. Pheromonal assault that made half the prey species in attendance pass out from fear. Check. It was, objectively, the most aggressive dominance display in recorded galactic history. Sato, watching from the control room with her coaching notes prepared, activated the comm. Reeves, remember what we practiced. Mirror his posture. Maintain steady breathing. Show calculated responses that demonstrate. Reeves turned off her earpiece. Ambassador! Sato shrieked. You need the coaching! But Reeves was already walking forward. Calm. Unhurried. Like she was crossing a parking lot. Not approaching a creature that had personally ended 3 small wars through sheer intimidation. She stopped directly in front of Vrextor. Looked up at him. Way up. Because he was 14 feet of murder and muscle. Made eye contact, and said, Are you done? Because I have a 3 p.m. meeting and you're making me late? The arena went silent. Vrextor stared down at her. This tiny creature. This soft thing. This prey. Who showed absolutely zero fear response. Zero submission behaviors. Zero acknowledgement that she should be running, hiding, or at minimum having a normal survival instinct. You, he started, his translator struggling with the complex mixture of confusion and instinct overwhelming his conscious mind. You dare! I dare to have a schedule, Reeves corrected, and you're disrupting it. So either submit or get out of my way, because I have 17 items on today's agenda, and standing here while you flex isn't one of them. She maintained eye contact, didn't blink, didn't back down, just stood there, radiating the same energy as someone waiting for a particularly slow elevator. Vrextor's instincts, millions of years of evolutionary programming, biological imperatives coded into his very DNA, looked at this display and reached one inescapable conclusion: ultimate dominance. Complete lack of threat response meant only one thing. This creature was so far above him in the hierarchy that his displays were beneath notice. Irrelevant. Background noise. His conscious mind screamed that this was wrong. His instincts didn't care. Vrextor, alpha of the Thanix Ravagers, the creature that made other apex predators nervous, lowered his head. In submission. His translator rendered. Acknowledge the alpha. The non-bonded predators watching from the stands made sounds of collective horror. And just like that, the last resistance crumbled. 6 months later, the Galactic Council observed what they were now calling the Apex Integration Program. Every major predator species had bonded to human alphas. The entire galactic power structure had reorganized around human middle managers who treated apex predators like difficult employees and ran the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy, using PowerPoint presentations and quarterly reviews. This is unprecedented, Council Member Zixoth observed, watching the schedule board. Humans have become the dominant species through administrative competence. They conquered us with spreadsheets, Vrex muttered, looking at his own upcoming performance review with Ambassador Reeves and feeling vaguely nervous about his Q2 objectives. In Reeves's office, the quarterly review session was in full swing. Karshan sat in a chair designed for beings half his size, holding a coffee mug that said, "Best Alpha's Best Alpha," a gift from the human staff. Vrextor perched awkwardly on a reinforced stool, taking notes on a datapad. The Zathari Prime had folded itself into something approximating a seated position. "Your hunting efficiency is up 23%, Reeves noted, reviewing the data. "Excellent improvement, but we need to work on your communication skills. The incident with the Andromedan delegation last week, they insulted the pack," Vrextor grumbled. "They questioned our trade proposal. That's called negotiation, not a threat. It felt like a threat. And what did we learn in conflict resolution training? To verify intent before assuming hostility," all three predators recited in unison. "Exactly," Reeves made a note. "Karshan, your leadership development is progressing well. I'm recommending you for the advanced management training next quarter." Karshan's scales shifted to pleased yellow. "Thank you, Alpha." "Vrextor, I'm concerned about your team collaboration metrics. I work alone. Ravagers didn't. Past tense. You're part of an integrated pack structure now." She pulled up a chart. "I'm assigning you a mentorship role with the younger Ravagers. Teaching the next generation, building leadership skills." Vrextor looked like he wanted to argue, then remembered this was his Alpha speaking. "Yes, Alpha." In the council observation room, members watched in horrified fascination. "We gave them diplomatic credentials," one whispered, "and they turned the apex predators into a corporate hierarchy." "Should we be terrified?" another asked. "I don't know." Vrex shifted uncomfortably. "But I have a performance review with Ambassador Reeves next week, and I haven't finished my quarterly goals." The observation room fell silent as every council member mentally reviewed their own objectives. Back in Reeves's office, she was wrapping up. "All right. That concludes our quarterly reviews. Good work, everyone. Next week, we're doing a team-building retreat." "Not Trust Falls again," the Zathari Prime groaned. "Trust Falls build interpersonal pack bonds," Reeves said firmly. "And afterward, we're having a workshop on inclusive communication strategies." "Yes, Alpha," they chorused. As the predators filed out, stopping to mark their completed objectives on the shared progress board, Sato poked her head in. "How do you do it?" she asked. "Do what?" "Run the galaxy's most dangerous creatures like a mid-level corporate department." Reeves shrugged. "They're not that different from any other team. Clear expectations, consistent feedback, regular check-ins. Everyone wants to know where they stand and how to improve. Even apex predators? Especially apex predators. They've spent their whole lives in dominance hierarchies without clear structure. We just gave them what they were missing, a competent manager." Sato looked out at the galaxy, now reorganized around human administrative competence, where the most feared creatures in existence attended mandatory HR training and worried about their performance metrics. "We've conquered through middle management," she said quietly. "We've brought order through organizational efficiency," Reeves corrected, pulling up next week's schedule. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to prepare the PowerPoint for Monday's all-hands meeting." "What's the topic?" "Synergizing cross-species collaboration for optimal pack performance." Sato laughed, then stopped when she realized Reeves was serious. In the observation room, a council member muttered, "We should never have let humans in the room." Too late. They were already scheduling next quarter's strategic planning session.